We're live.
We're live.
We're live.
We're very live.
We're live. This took a minute because
Because we're triggered.
And that's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about today.
I know. I saw that. And I'm thinking, well, I'm triggered right now.
Well, great. Great. I mean, we have never gone live on YouTube before. So hello, YouTube world. We've gone live thousands of times on Facebook and Instagram, but never YouTube. So this is new for us. Welcome, everybody. Hopefully our internet signal holds out for this.
Thank God for Starlink, but it is...
Thank God for Starlink.
He's having a hard time in the woods of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so it's been a drive day for us. Those of you who may randomly see this video, we live full-time in our beautiful RV, in our Joni, as we call her. We live full-time, and today was a drive day into the woods of Pennsylvania.
And the hills of Altoona, Pennsylvania, which is really something.
It was something. It's been a something for a few days. So we just got here, got settled, got our internet up. Our intention is to do a live stream every day for the next 7 days, and actually the goal is 30 days straight. But
we start small.
I sometimes
take little
jump.
bites. Try to take little bites.
So the desire is 7 days straight, but we'll be really happy if we can keep going because I actually have 30 days of questions for us. So yeah, we're going to try to do this. I'm not going to tell you a time because we won't know what time we're going to go live, but we're going to go live every day. So go do that if you want to hear us live every day. If you don't,
I don't know
that's totally fine.
I don't know if I want to hear me.
So yeah, the first 7 days is really going to cover questions, concerns around stress and overwhelm in general.
Mm-hmm.
And then week 2, we're really going to dive into trauma and what does that mean and how to work with it. And week 3 is really about spirituality, metaphysical stuff, esoteric stuff. And then the last week is overall balance, joy, and inner peace.
Mm.
So those are like the sort of the topics, but I came up with a question or a pain point. And actually I got a lot of these questions from things people have asked us, people that we've worked with, people that I've seen just like ask questions or comment in Facebook in general.
Sure.
And some from ChatGTP. I resisted AI for a long time, but
let's get to the potatoes.
So Happy Wine. If you don't know me, I'm a wine connoisseur, and so tonight the bottle is a cab from Napa County. Do any of you guys know this? I had never heard of it, but I went to a really cool wine store, which I love really cool wine stores. And I took a chance on this Cabernet Sauvignon from Napa County. Lot 94 is what it's called. And it's really good. I really, really enjoy this one. I like very full-bodied, bold wine. And so this is a really good one. If you guys have any suggestions I'm a kind of a California cab snob wine enthusiast. So if anyone has any really good recommendations, let us know.
Let's get to the potatoes.
Okay, one last thing. I got to show them my shirt. So this is the evolution of having a child. Read it, honey.
Mama, mommy, mom, bride.
It's true, right? Isn't it true?
Yeah, it's really true.
It's so true. Okay.
Can we get to the question?
He's getting triggered.
Yeah, I haven't eaten yet. It's been a long drive day. I've been driving through.
Here we go. Lots of driving. Here we go.
Lots up and down. 12% grade, man. 12% grades. I don't think I've ever. I mean, we've driven Montana. We've driven Idaho. We've driven, New Mexico, which is surprising, you would think.
No.
A lot of passes in New Mexico.
Yeah.
Steep stuff there. Never really realized that.
Yeah.
Colorado, 12% grades.
Yeah. And they're tight roads.
Very, very tight.
Narrow.
3.5 miles of 12% grade. I don't know if I'm sure we have.
Yeah.
That to me just seems obscene. It really does. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. Maybe I've driven way steeper than that. For me, I don't know. I saw 12%. I'm like, 12%?
Crazy.
Anyway.
All right. So we have our first question. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, let's go. And
I experience a lot of triggers in my day-to-day life. How do I deal with them better?
Well,
so just give me one thing.
I'm experiencing triggers today.
So how do you work through them in your life? How do you coach people to work through them?
Well, I think first thing I know is that they are temporary. It's a temporary thing. You're there for hours. And if you have
the better you
so
get,
give me an example of a trigger. Somebody triggering you?
Yeah, so somebody that goes through their day and they notice they're constantly being triggered by people or, situations. Let's say they're sort of on the path to, doing the inner work, but they find that they're easily finding themselves triggered throughout the day.
Well, I'll tell you what, the thing that really changed everything for me was, and again, I'm still working on this, that number one, when someone is triggering, the thing I always realize is, you know what, they have their own shit too. They have their patterns, they have their triggers, and they're just using you to fulfill them unconsciously. They don't know. Their projection is what pulls you in, and you're like, why is she being so mean to me? Well, because that's part of her trigger. Her trigger or her habit is being mean because maybe she lost control in her life at some point, or maybe she was hurt, or maybe that's the only way that she can gain power is by dominating somebody else that is maybe unknowingly willing, but willing. So that was always a huge thing. That was a major light bulb for me. That's 1,000-watt light bulb right there for me, was realizing that other people, everyone else isn't perfect either. Everyone else has their shit. And when you
were always taking it like
it was my fault.
Something wrong all the time.
It was 100% my fault. It was 100% my fault. What's wrong with me? I'm not as good as I thought I was. And I thought I was a good person, but obviously I'm not. How do I make them happier? That's a big one, right? How do I make them happier? How do I then make them like me more? When I realized that I can't do any of that. It's more of the, So that's a big one. And then that refers back to yourself. You realize when you see other people are, you're triggered by other people, then you realize, oh, well, I have my shit too. So it kind of pulls you out of your ego, right? So the idea is to understand that, first off, what the ego is. And, it's the thing that you think you are, the person identity that you think you are. But you want that, you're a soul. And that's why we like, psychedelics or ketamine or whatever, because it really puts you in touch with your soul instead of your ego. That's why we work with ketamine so much. It's so great with it. And then I think, once you understand that you have patterns, then when you get triggered, you're aware of them. So you're kind of waiting for them to kind of, unlock the lock, so to speak, to watch what happens and say, well, that's interesting how that showed up for me. And then the thing that probably changed all of it for me was when I realized it was the triggers that were creating the events in my life. So when I had, when I would get addicted to frustration or anger, then of course there would be traffic jams. It would just start showing up everywhere. And then I started to really understand double slit experiment. You are what you think, quantum mechanics, all of that. You really understand that it is your trigger, it is your habit that are in which you live in the things you see, right? The projection you see. So once you, it's a whole nother ball game, because you're like, well, wait a minute. And that's a big one. That's a big jump. That's a huge jump.
Well, I think it's both, right? That's why we teach the quadrant theory, because it's both. It is the emotional awareness aspect and the understanding. It's really all inside you. So I'll go with I'll give my answer. Thank you, honey. That was fantastic.
I just had to enter the whole day of driving.
The first thing that I will say to anyone, and I know him and I have said this to people we've worked with since the very beginning, the first thing that you have to do is pause. You just have to, and it's going to feel near impossible.
Yeah.
It is going to feel impossible. If you don't pause, you're going to get wrapped up in your own ego's chit chat about it, and you're going to go further down the rabbit hole, and it's not going to help. It's not going to help you in any way, because not only will you not be able to understand what's happening, you're going to get even more emotionally involved in it, and then you can't work through it. So it's just going to keep happening.
Yeah.
So pause, and I'll add here that the number one response we get from people we have worked with using ketamine in their lives, the number one response that we hear is the after effect, not in the journey, the after effect, which is amazing, is that they notice the pause
automatically.
It's like huge. Like that is the number one thing they say. I cannot believe the pause that I get before a reaction.
Because you're giving voice to the soul, who you really are.
Yes. Quadrant 3 and 4.
Instead of the ego, who you think you are.
Quadrant 1 and 2. Right?
Exactly.
So
you're equalizing the tanks.
Yeah. So quadrant 2 is like the wounded child, and that's the part of you that's getting triggered.
Yeah.
You know, it's not quadrant 3 and 4. It's not your present child, and it's not your soul. It's that wounded little child.
It's the wounded and the get things done.
Yeah.
It's 1 and 2.
1 and 2. And so when you get triggered, it's actually an opportunity for you to clear something. I know we all hate triggers, but it's actually your portal to your freedom if you can approach it that way. So number 1, I'll say pause. And for me, the tool for that absolutely has been ketamine.
Sure.
In the process. And
sure.
then number
100%.
2,
yeah.
You know, we used to always say, we would tell people, what is this in me? Until I think we started understanding what he talked about, which is like, oh crap, other people have their stuff and we may be picking up on that. So you really have to do your own inner work and realize what your patterns are. And then once you've worked through some of those, you can, I think, more clearly see somebody else's. You're like, oh, they got their own stuff going on, so I don't have to get triggered by it. But I think, you know, I'll give a quick example of it. Just happened to me the other night. Something happened, and all of a sudden I felt that immediate instant reaction in my belly, because that's where the trigger hits me, is in my belly. And I asked myself a really important question, and this is where I think you can differentiate between, is this me or is it this person's stuff projecting on me? I asked myself, is this a familiar feeling? Like, have I experienced this feeling before? And of course I had. I'm like, this is a very familiar feeling. So then I laid there, and what, you know, we're going to start teaching in our quadrant theory is actually how to move deeper into the feeling. When you get triggered and you have that feeling, you want to like resist. It's your body, your subconscious way of trying to avoid feeling that wound again. So actually, the more I was able to move deeper into the feeling, I saw exactly where it stemmed from. I put a face over the face of the person that was doing the thing I thought that they were doing, somebody who was very influential in my childhood. And I realized that was exactly what was happening. I was just reliving a childhood pattern and memory, and my body was trying to fight it, so I didn't feel that intense fear again in my belly. And the more I moved into it, the more I was able to let it go. And then I was able to realize, oh, the person that sent that message wasn't saying it in that way at all. It was just my number 2. And here's the third thing. This is the third thing I have had to so practice since my second awakening happened when we started the ketamine, was activate my quadrant 4, meaning like my own wise sage mother in me, and hold my quadrant 2, so that wounded little girl that was experiencing the trigger, and love her so much through that process. Like, I am right here with you. You're not alone. I am loving you. And I have to do that with that wounded part of me. And I was able to release it very, very, very quickly and see it through a totally different lens. So I think pause, asking yourself, is this familiar? If it is, then you have to kind of go through the process of going, all right, I need to figure out where this stems from and really work towards letting that go.
Well, the thing I think you need to kind of clarify, and we'll clarify here, is when we talk about ketamine, and, you know, we talk about the use of ketamine, how do we use it? How much do we use it? you really don't use it that often. I'll be honest. It is, somebody can go through a month-long period of doing it maybe one time in a month. Others do it maybe once a week at a lower dose. Some people do it daily at a very low dose. But, you're doing it in meditation. It's not like you're, popping some ketamine and you're walking around your backyard.
No,
That's
God, no.
You are in a total introspective journey of awareness, to really open up the soul and let the soul start talking. And the only way it can is by moving the ego out of the way. So ketamine takes the ego offline. It's very relaxing. Maybe it's, once a month, you do a journey.
Yeah.
And just out of that, the hour long that journey is, the information that you get in that really does last for probably 2 weeks to a month until you realize, oh, it's time for more. And it's kind of like going to school. You know what I mean? I just went to this lecture, and man, I've been really contemplating, that lecture, of what I learned in that lecture. And, I think I'm ready for the next lecture. It's like, a month, every couple of weeks, something like that. You just know it's time. It's not like this is you're doing it every day going out.
Yeah.
It's not about going out. It's about moving the ego out of the way so you can get this information in, because the ego blocks it, because the ego is the habit. It is the trigger. It is the thing that keeps you locked up.
Yeah.
So that's how we heal, is to, that voice wants to fight with everything it has. So that's the idea. If we can start to quiet that voice and then get the other voice to start raising its volume. And that's why we say the quadrants are kind of like tanks, and you need to put your attention on these other tanks so you can start understanding that all those tanks, those 4 quadrants, are who you are. You are all of those things. You are the ego, because that's how you experience life. You are that wounded child, because that's the memory. That's what you learn.
Yeah, it will never go away. Say like, oh, my inner child will go away if I heal it. No, it will be there. It is a neurological network in your brain.
And embrace it. If you can embrace it without letting it hold you back, or control you, then that's the win. That's like liberation, man. That is total liberation.
Yeah.
And you don't want to just erase it. That's not at all what you're looking to do. You're looking to free it. You're looking to see it. You're looking to say, oh, I know what you've been doing.
Yeah.
I'm on to you now.
And like I said, I've done a lot of work around my childhood and all that. And there's still going to be things that come up, just like it did the other night. But I can work through it now without it destroying me and being stuck in. And I'll say this, like, Abraham Hicks talks about this a lot. I mean, lots of people talk about this, but I always think of her. When you're triggered, I know it's so near impossible because the chemicals are going through your body. But if you are waiting for the person that you feel like is triggering you to change so that that trigger can go away or do something different, you are holding yourself prisoner. I know that's hard. I know it's hard, but you're able to work through that. So working through triggers is about freeing yourself. It's about understanding why that's coming up and understanding if it's not yours, it's theirs, and you can let it go with compassion and understanding that they have reasons for behaving the way they do. I think that's really good. Hopefully let us know in the comments if that was helpful. Like I said, we work on this all the time, and we work with our, I hate calling people clients. I don't know why I have a thing with that. But the people we work with will just say, this is a really common, obviously, this is a really common
on the road together. We're all just trying to find our way home.
I mean, and this is why we're so passionate about ketamine and the quadrant theory,
100%.
those 2 things. So if you're interested in learning more about the ketamine, we have a retreat coming up in September in Taos. I feel like it might get close to selling out. I'm not sure. I just have some really good feelings about it. So that will be September 5th through the 9th, where 3 full days, 4 nights. If you want more info, you can visit our website, and I'll put the link in the description. We also did a webinar that describes the retreats. Hey. And the quadrant theory as well. So we wanted to make sure to share that with you at the end. I want to share that every day at the end to help you guys remember and to realize that we are offering these tools